Welcome to the sprint car capital of the world, Knoxville Raceway, which is where you'll find the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and a museum. It's also where you'll find the 40-plus drivers lining up in the final round of the CSI Shocks Spring Series. We are live on the Global Sim Racing channel. My name is Ryan Jones, and joining me in the booth is Gary Weaver. Sean Ambrose is in the director's chair for this one, using cameras brought to you by Dougie Beard. And thanks to our GSRC track guide, we're going to take a closer look at this half-mile facility.
You are looking at the sprint car capital of the world, Knoxville Raceway. Located in Knoxville, Iowa, 45 minutes southeast of Des Moines, Knoxville needs little introduction to racing fans around the globe. Home to the Knoxville Nationals, this half-mile clay oval is known for its blistering speeds despite the relative lack of banking. While the corners here are angled just 8 degrees, Knoxville's wide corners and fast surface have seen the World of Outlaws cars lap this track in 14.4 seconds, averaging speeds around 125 miles per hour. Virtual drivers love Knoxville because it's a multi-lane track that plays into drivers of many different track preferences. Like a slick track? Well, you're going to find a home on the inside line to the middle of the track, which is sure to slick off quick in a main event. Makes for great slide job opportunities as well. Want to run up on the cushion? Well, there's plenty of grip to be found up there, and high-speed runs can be made on the exit of both corners here. It results in some of the best side-by-side, back-and-forth racing on the iRacing service. And Knoxville's not just for sprint car fans. Hop into a late model, take a few laps around here, you'll find a car perfectly equipped to handle the high speeds and slicked-off nature of Knoxville. But be careful in the big cars. Both the late model and street stock have a penchant for hopping the berm on the inside of the track. And while there's not necessarily a wall for you to catch down there, that high berm will spin you around before you can blink. The Knoxville Nationals, as we mentioned, run here annually in August. It pays $1 million to the winner. Knoxville Raceway, also home to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. You can see that just off of turn number 2. Well, that's our look at Knoxville Raceway. What do you say we line them up 4 wide and let the green flag fly?
Oh wow, it's even a red truck actually driving around the circuit there on your screen for a second there. That's the first time it's out on iRacing before. But what else can you tell us about this racetrack, Gary? Other than it's half a mile in length and it's dirt.
Well, it is, of course, a little bit banked. It's kind of the almost exactly sort of New Hampshire, essentially, of flat tracks overall. 8 degrees of banking in the turns, and that's pretty much it, really, of course. 0.8 kilometers and a half mile. And like you mentioned, it's dirt. But the one thing that interested me from that lap guide is that we can line them up 4 wide, technically. I mean, there's really enough space permitting to do so. I don't see why we don't do that. But, I mean, it could be possible that we can line them up 4 wide and just see how that goes.
Yeah, most certainly. Would be interesting. It's plenty wide enough, but the nature of the track, you've got to make your own way through it. And there's definitely the good parts, and then there's the bad parts of the racetrack with the slick forms. You can see it already here in the practice session. The slick forms and takes up almost 3/4 of the racetrack down low. It looks like there's a little bit of grip in a single lane up top, but it doesn't look like a particularly good racetrack for these drivers out there today. We'll see how much it changes here we get into the heats and qualifying about to come up. As always, 5 minutes for them to get their laps in. They get 3 laps around the racetrack, and the top 14 will advance through to the A main. The rest will have to race their way through the heats here, Gary.
And as you can see, the race details on your screen, the final round 5 of 5. This month went by quick, now that I think about it. The 360 Wing and Dirt Sprint Car, as we have been using this entire season. Fixed subs, everyone's on the same setup. At this point, it's just pure skill. The top 14 in qualifying will automatically advance to the A main, and then it will be the top 2 from 3 heats each advancing to the A main to make up for 20 drivers in total. But if we do get 2 heats, like we kind of have been for every once in a while, It will be the top 3 from Heat 1 and Heat 2. If we only do get 2 heats, that will advance to the A main to make up that 20-car field. So we'll see as the checkered flag flies on this warm-up session, Ryan.
Yep. Let's get this one underway. Let's get our action underway for the final round of the season of the CSI Shocks Spring Series here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Your qualifying details, of course, brought to you by Racing Bars, or the OEM manufacturer for Schroeder and Chalk Sticks torsion bars. 3 laps, top 14 advanced track state 20%. So a lot more racetrack to deal with here than they had at the end of practice.
Right now, currently taking a look at Chase Randall, as pretty much everybody are all starting to make their way around the top side of Knoxville Raceway. Right here, it's going to be a 10% starting state for the track, so at least 10% usage, and as you can see, it's pretty clean for the most part, but that will drastically change throughout the next few events here, as Darren Nadia, nope, scratch that, it's going to be Reese Nowakowski, who is now up on the top spot. These lap times are going to be changing really rapidly for the pole.
40 drivers all putting down 3 laps in the space of 5 minutes. It's going to be very quick here. Currently it's Gray up at the top. 200s separating him. Back to Crum in second. Hunter Crum in second. Chance Crum in third. They're separated by 1,000ths of a second as Darren Nider stays 6th after their final attempt of the session. Jacob Deeney goes up to the top.
Right now, taking a look at Chance Crum getting up to at least third. Taking a look at Kenny Miller now, as everyone still continues to make their rounds up on the top side. And this point's, of course, going to be roughly 20 drivers going home. 20, of course, will make it in total. Unfortunately, Sage Karam is not here for this week, as Jerry Brewer taking a very slow lap, maybe trying to get a feel for the track, although quite literally at some points, as so far it's only Jacob Denny to be in first place, but Hunter Crum, nope, scratch that. Kenny Miller now flying by with a new pole time, 16.257. I was going to say Jeffrey Denny and Hunter Crum are separated by 2/1000ths of a second. Well, they still are, but unfortunately for Jacob Denny, Kenny Miller now has set the new pole time by 0.017 seconds.
Glenn Carson, one of the final drivers, trying to put down a time here. Not a good lap for him. Ryan Shorthose back in 21st. Can't find the improvements he's looking for. Dominic Carter needs to find a couple tenths, move himself up the order. He finds something, but it wasn't enough. Cale Coons as well. Remember, 14th place is the magic number to book that spot in the A main. Currently occupying that spot is Dominic Carter with a 16.372. Can Sean Scott eclipse that? He can at 16.254. That puts him to the top of the sheet. It's a very good lap.
That's by 4/1000ths of a second, no less, as well. At this point, I think the 14 and drivers and company really are going to just be making their rounds as the qualifying session is pretty much over, taking a little bit of extra time. Unfortunately for Kayla Coons, who slowed down off turn 4 there. I'm pretty sure he did make contact with the outside wall, unfortunately. But for the moment, looks to be your top 14 in. So 14 drivers will be going home out of the 34 that have entered here today. So it's going to be a quite interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing how many drivers really will be scrambling for the top 2 or top 3 positions, depending on how many heats we have.
Yeah, been a fantastic scrap to watch all season long is that battle for the final transfer spot. We've seen plenty of drama in these heats with positions changing multiple times throughout the race and leaders getting taken out and final transfer spot changing on the final lap. Everything that could happen has happened, and what can we see today? Who knows? It's going to be a very interesting battle to watch unfold. For the drivers that have booked their spot, though, they've got to wait ahead of them of about half an hour now until they get back out there on the racetrack, which, as a driver, and as we've heard pro drivers talking about how they get more nervous for the iRacing than they do for their real life stuff, must be very very tough for the drivers to sit there for half an hour waiting until they can get back out there on the racetrack. And the 14 drivers that you can see there on your screen that will have to make that long way to Sean Scott, Kenny Miller, Jacob Denny, Hunter Crum, and Justin Brester, Chance Crum, Rylan Gray, Emerson Axum, Reese Nowataski, Cody Williams, Rennie Hannigan, Darren Nider, Zach Jersey, and Chase Red. Ooh.
As Ryan holds off a sneeze, and Heat 1 starts
Yeah.
the grid. I'm quite interested to see how this goes, really. The sun is setting, so Ryan, if you've held off your sneeze, I think we're good to go.
Yep. Thank God for push to talk, is all I can say. So Heat 1 is going to get underway under the lights and the setting sun here in the virtual Knoxville, and this is how they'll line up. It'll be Dominic Carter and Judson Miller off the front row. 10 cars into this heat. Heat 3 has been skipped, by the way. Ryan Shorthose and Alex Kapowicz, 4th and 5th. Austin Edson, 6th. Cale Coons and Caleb Stelzik, 7th and 8th. Robert Hummer, Braden Jones round out your top 10 for this one. The details of the heat brought to you by PitLogic, the most comprehensive chassis and shock setup application on the market. 15 laps to try and book a spot in the top 3 because 2 heats means top 3 advance here.
Yeah, his top 3 now is going to be the key. It's really looking for on just really who's going to be aggressive, who's going to try and wait it out. No cautions, of course. So it's going to be a 15-lap survival race, 15 minutes at most if needed. But considering that these drivers go around the track at let's say about 17 seconds flat, just as a little bit of a base, it's not even going to be half an hour for some of the lead drivers to wait. So I think the less time spent on track for these heat drivers, the less that the drivers from the qualifying will have to worry.
You're probably right there. Well, let's see how this one goes then. 10 cars gets cut back to 3. 7 people say goodbye to the season at the end of this heat. Carter, Miller, Posey, the 3 drivers currently in the transfer spot. Don't know if it will stay that way when this one shakes out. Pace car dives down, and we go green for Heat 1 here in Knoxville, the CSI Shocks Spring Series. Good jump from Dominic Carter then, and a Judson Miller, and Kenan Posey's going to try to fend off Ryan Shorthose. Round the outside, takes away P3.
As they make their way through, Dominic Carter trying to hold off Judson Miller for the time being. Brian Shorthose now in P3. Oh, someone's flipping in the back and stuck at the catch fence. That's Alex Karpowicz, and someone else on the side. Hayden Posey is out from 3rd.
Up front then, change with Judson Miller trying to take it away from Dominic Carter down to the low side. He does so, but Carter switches right on back at him. Regains your race lead, so they're dicing up the front. This is allowing Ryan Shorthose to claw his way up the back of them. Austin Edson dragging himself along as well. This is about the first 4 cars covered by just about a second out here on the racetrack.
And Austin Edson pretty much been lurking throughout these heats every single time somehow makes his way in, but we could be having a 3-car battle nearly 3 wide as Carter and Miller going wheel to wheel. They actually bang side by side as well, and unfortunately it's going to be somebody falling out. That's Ryan Shorthose who's out of this battle, and that's going to be Austin Edson, Caleb Stelzik battling for the transfer position.
Poor Shorthose got clean bowled by Robert Hummer as well while he was stranded on the racetrack, so his day is truly done. And still Miller and Carter running side by side, but battle for the final transfer spot. Gonna be, well, who is it gonna be after it's all shaken up? Caleb Stelzik up into P3 then, and Edson now 4th in this one, just in behind him. Top 2 needing to run side by side though, not giving up Judson and Miller, but Carter doing well to fend him off.
So far, so good for Caleb Stelzik. He's going to be in the transfer spot, but Austin Edson in line to advance if anything does happen within these final just over 5 laps. So we'll see exactly how this plays out as Stelzik looks up top. Might try and get around the outside Judson Miller, but so far not just yet. But he's using that top side to his advantage here, side by side for 2nd. As so far, luckily for Dominic Carter, he's still able to run away with this.
He is. This could be disaster for one of these drivers here. As Stelzik gets to the inside, comes up the track, and all 3 of them contact Edson and Miller both on their side. And the driver that comes out best of this, Cale Coons, up into third, books a transfer spot. Only
It's
3 cars remain on the lead lap here.
Yeah, I think that, well, yeah, that pretty much could be it now. At this point, it's all just smooth sailing. I mean, Stelzic and Carter do have a little bit of a gap between them, but Cale Coons has the best, really, gap between himself and anyone who's ever closest to him, because he's on the lead lap, like you mentioned. So at this point, this is pretty much your top 3, I think.
I thought we said it all on this series, Gary, but this is a new one.
Yeah.
Only 3 people finishing the race. But
we do have Karpwick still running, but he is unfortunately a lap down, so he could still, if something does happen to Cale Coons, then it could be Karpwick's, but that's going to be a long shot.
You know the commentator's curse works, Gary. Do not go near that. Friend, you do not want to touch anything that may affect someone out there at the moment. 3 laps left to navigate for Dominic Carter out front to take what in the end is going to be a comfortable victory, having to fend off Judson Miller for the majority of the race. The early goings is right on board with Caleb Stelzic into the margin up to your race leader from him, looking over his front wing as he runs up at the top of the racetrack through 1 and 2. See the cushion being formed about a lane or 2 off the top of the racetrack now up against that fence. 2 to go now for these drivers.
Final lap, actually. So Dominic Carter with a great defense. He'll actually come across the start-finish line, take the take the checkered flag here. And Dominic Carter advances along with Caleb Stelzic, and just out of absolutely nowhere, Cale Coons, who just now rounds turn number 4. So that's going to be your top 3 advancing to the AMA out of Heat 1.
To transfer, first you must finish, then, I guess the saying goes in this race, because that's exactly how it happened for Cale Coons. So Heat 2, what we see in this heat, 10 more drivers vying for the spot to get into the A main. Jack Hoyer, Lincoln Smith, Seth Stenzel and Seth Christensen are your front 2 rows. Jordan Shipley and Clayton Christensen on 5th and 6th. Garrett Andrews and Will Armitage, 7th and 8th. Jerry Brewer and Glenn Carson rounding out your 10-car field. And this is brought to you by KT's Steering Service, Kevin Thomas Racing Services, rebuilds, repairs, and Dyno's power steering gears and pumps to the midget sprint over Crown and Markets. And it's just the same as Heat 1, 15 laps for these drivers to put all on the line to get into the A-main.
Right now, I'm wondering if the drivers in this heat are a bit worried after seeing what just happened, what just transpired off in heat race number 1. I'd be a little bit worried, to be quite honest, but at the same time, I'd probably be just a bit more cautious if I had to. But for the time being, I mean, especially for Seth Stenzel, I mean, he's starting 3rd, but I mean, look at who else started 3rd in Heat 1, Kaden Posey. He ended up in 9th pretty much out of the race. So far, it looks to be pretty much anywhere below, anywhere 4th place and lower is a lot of bad luck, and you really want to get that gap in defense going pretty much right away out of the first 15, right out of the gate, rather.
Let's see, then, how it goes for these drivers. One of the shortest heat fields we've seen so far this season, but it can provide some really quality racing on this 10-car field. Let's see if more drivers can finish Heat 2 than finished in Heat 1. So, saying that's the green flag, going to be Jack Hoyer then. We wait that pace car to get out of the way and unleash these beasts here at Knoxville Raceway, I should say. Tell you what, that sun has well and truly set in the past 10 minutes, hasn't it? Over this racetrack since we started calling this event. It's well and truly dark and the lights are on, illuminating the racetrack now as we go green for heat number 2.
Great start by Jack Hoyer. Seth Stenzel tried a slide job on Lincoln Smith, but that was not going to work as they squeeze each other off turn 2. Very close battle, but they managed to hang on to it, as right now just behind them is going to be Seth Christensen.
Stenzel slots up in line right in front of Christensen, who has to dive to the bottom but has no momentum down there. Gets up and into the fence almost, with Shipley getting into the back of him. That was awkward between those two. And your top 3 are Jack Hoyer, Lincoln Smith and Seth Stenzel then.
On board Jordan Shipley now as we take a look and see what he sees pretty much out of his front visor as he tries to make his way and slide drops his way past Seth Christensen, but Christensen back down to the side as the battle in front for around the transfer spot between Smith and Ed Stenzel. Stenzel gets sent up into the outside wall, I think, by Smith. Maybe a little bit of contact for sure, and there was. Stenzel somehow manages to hang on to it for the time being.
Very fortunate with Stenzel there not to hit the fence and go out of the race. He retains P3, but now he's in the clutches. So there's 3 car scrap behind him. With Garrett Andrews trying to pull a big slider in the background, didn't quite work for him. You can see there on your screen Seth Christensen maybe just holding up Jordan Shipley and Garrett Andrews a little bit, preventing them from getting a chance at getting inside of the top 3. Shipley's going to need to find a way by pretty quickly here before Seth Stenzel runs off in the distance, which he's already doing. You see Shipley running right up against the fence, tucks it back low, gets a run off the corner, going to go for the slide job here through 1 and 2. Slides up in front. The track is so wide, it's so easy for Christensen to come right back at him.
And for the time being, those 3 rather, I should say, are battling just for the 4th place position. That's not even a transfer spot, unfortunately, as Andrews, I believe, does have a little bit of bad luck and gets into the outside wall. That's actually outside of Seth Christensen, who got door slammed or wheel banged or something. I don't even know. But at this point, it's just more contact between all these now 2 drivers as Christensen is desperately trying to at least stay somewhere. But I think at this point, it might be a bit too much fight for Seth Christensen as we're side by side for second between Smith and Stenzel again.
Slide job going to be returned. It's just crossover after crossover here in this event at Knoxville Raceway as Stenzel now occupies the top line, and Smith thought about the slider, was not quite working for him.
That's Glenn Carson that got turned and ultimately stuck up in the fence as Lincoln Smith makes a little bit of contact with Seth Stenzel for second place, but they managed to hang on to it. 5 laps to go as it's going to be a slide job attempt from Smith, but Stenzel back with the crossover again. We're going to be seeing this a lot tonight. I have a slight pattern as they bang wheels just a little bit into the outside wall. Goes Lincoln Smith as well, and he'll be falling into the clutches of Jordan Shipley. Maybe 4 laps for Shipley to try something for the top transfer spot.
Was that favorite return from Seth Stenzel, I wonder, to Lincoln Smith, Gary?
Oh, probably. I mean, everyone's been having a little bit of contact throughout this race, so I wouldn't really be surprised. But throughout all this, it's hard to think that Jack Hoyer is running away with this as Stenzel finally pretty much cleared Lincoln Smith for the time being. And Jordan Shipley might be actually in the striking zone for Lincoln Smith and that transfer spot.
Here comes Shipley then, gets the momentum. Down a main straight, pulls to the inside. Can he complete the move? Can't quite get up in front of that 31 machine. And Smith fends him off around the top side. Just 1 lap to go. Next time they cross the stripe, the battle for the final transfer spot well and truly alive. 2 seconds off your race lead. White flag in the air. The slider comes from Shipley. They'll run side by side as Jack Hoyer will come across to win heat number 2 here at Knoxville Raceway. Behind them, the battle going to be won by Lincoln Smith to take 3rd. There was contact down that back straightaway with Jordan Shipley.
And Jordan Shipley got into the outside wall. Seth Stenzel, of course, does advance from second. Jordan Shipley got into the outside wall just a little bit, unfortunately, and with that contact. But a great race nonetheless by everyone throughout that. And now it is a 5-minute warm-up with 30% track usage throughout this. And at this point, it's all, well, release everybody at this point and say goodbye to the track state as you see it now and prepare to see a lot of rubber by the end of these 5 minutes.
Well, remember, last week the session was advanced straight through to the feature. The warm-up scrapped from its existence. We'll take this moment to thank one of our other sponsors for the series, Sharp Advantage Safety Products. At Sharp Advantage Safety Products, they specialize in building the most professional, custom-fit, high-impact safe seat inserts that are designed to be used in the standard aluminum or carbon seat chosen for the manufacturer of your choice. So make sure you go and check those guys out as well. It looks like we're going to head through all 5 minutes of this warm-up here. The track state set to 30% for the next session. And we'll have a 20-car feature ahead of us at the end of this.
I'm quite excited. 30% check stay as well for the feature event. So imagine pretty much at the 5-minute point of the next feature, depending on things that shall not be named that start with that basically associate yellow lights and slowing down. Let's not have that, depending on those next 5 minutes within the feature. We'll see how that goes, really. But in the meantime, so far, it looks like we are running throughout the next 5 minutes, and I'm starting to already see a little bit of a dark line forming up on the inside lane, turns 1 and 2.
Ooh. There's a lot more of the lanes being formed out there. There's rivalries being formed. And that's another one there. More contact up into the fence. I guess the warm-up's also a chance to let off a bit of steam if you are a bit nervous about the main event here, though, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, only just a little bit. And you can also test some only very slightly risky situations where you can pretty much do a massive slide job where you just go straight down through the inside and try and slide your way up the racetrack and hope that you don't hit the outside wall. So, of course, it is an opportunity to test a few moves depending on the track surface and really what lines you want to take as well. So we'll see exactly how this plays out, but so far so good. I'm seeing Jacob Denning running the inside lane just behind the group of these two of Rylan Gray and Darren Nadia, Darren Nida. And so far, well, everyone's just running the top side for the time being. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more drivers use the inside like Nadia there, moving down to the inside to defend. Very smart move. You never really see that often.
No, you don't, which is slightly odd, but I guess if you move down to the inside, you're offering them the fastest lane around the racetrack up on the top to remain that way for the race. So it does have its disadvantages, but it does grab the slide job. And if you do it at the right time, they can't quite go to the top because they've already committed to the low line. They've got to check up for you. One thing I can't wait for these cars, Gary, is the new damage model. We'll see some wings flying off of these race cars, I'm sure, in the future. And that, I think, is going to add quite some spectacular sights to the wrecks around these dirt tracks across virtual iRacing America.
Not only that, but you can also actually bang wheels and, hope for, well, not exactly hope for your wheels being dislodged, I should say. More just a little bit of contact and leave it at that. But maybe we might be seeing a little bit closer racing with that as well, with the behind-the-scenes portions. I believe the new damage model they showed off at one point is that it's going from spherical contact to more of the actual shape of the car. So based on one of their work in progress videos, and that's very interesting to see how that works. So as far as wings flying off, I will be very scared if I see a giant back rear wing in front of me with absolutely nowhere to go if I'm ever caught in that situation.
That's why I'm never getting VR, man. That's terrifying.
Oh, no, I have that too. So if that happens, then yeah, that would be a little bit worse. That makes
only
40
40. Yeah. Only 40 seconds left in this session, a little bit less than that now, and we'll get ourselves underway for the A main here at Knoxville Raceway, the home of Sprint, the world centre of Sprint car racing. Dubbed so thanks to the museum Hall of Fame that sits on the outside of Turn 2, which is in the iRacing service. You can see it. You can see the wall just off the exit. iRacing comes along, they scan the racetrack. There it is. They scan the areas just immediately around the racetrack and as well, including the facility in and around and all that. And eventually they got to stop scanning, and that's where you get the fields off in the distance. But they do scan quite a lot more than just the racing surface, as you can tell from some of the shots of the racetrack. Checkered flag falls on the warm-up, and we can look to our starting grid for the feature race here for the final race of the season. Sean Scott is on the pole with Kenny Miller alongside, Jacob Denny and Hunter Crum off road 2. Justin Brester and Chance Scrum starting 5th and 6th had a rather great Emerson Axum on row 4. Top 10 rounded out by Reese Nowatowski and Cody Williams.
And the second half of your field is going to be as follows, with the row 6 and row 7 being the final 14 qualifiers, or final drivers of the 14 qualifiers. Randy Hannigan, Darren Nida, Zach Jursic, and Chase Randall. They were the top 14 in qualifying, and then the drivers to make it in through the heats were Dominic Carter in 15th, Jack Hoyer in 16th, Caleb Stelzick starting in 17th. 18th is going to be Seth Stenzel. Caleb Coons starting 19th, and Lincoln Smith rounds out the 20-car field in row 10.
Race details for the A-Main, the feature event brought to you by Competition Suspension Incorporated. CSI has become the shop of choice for many of today's top professionals. They've won over 5,000 races in many track, regional, and national championships right around the world. To learn more, visit www.competitionsuspension.com. 40 laps. Remember, the setups are fixed, so it's all down to the driver. Yellow flags are on for the feature. Caution laps do count under these rules, so you do eat up some of the laps when the yellow flag flies. We've seen some pretty good races so far this season, though. We're going to see some yellows, though, as history would suggest based off the season so far. But only 20 cars, one of the smallest fields of the 5-week series. Might actually be a very clean race here. I said something really stupid, and I'd love if you didn't point it out, Gary.
Oh, that was Sean. That was our director, Sean, that pointed that out. So
I know, but no one at home heard it, so you didn't have to let them hear it. All right, let's get this one underway. Feature races green from Knoxville Raceway. Sean Scott takes us into turn 1, and caution's out.
Reese Nortowski in 13 was around on the straightaway. Maybe spun tires. No, it was actually someone got a bit over eager on this start, actually. Turns out that was the 17 of Darren Nida, who ended up stuck on his side, having to take a tow.
Take a look at your replay here on GSRC. And we'll see it in a second. It was coming to the green here. Really unfortunate when you have an incident as you're coming to the green flag. Very frustrating as a driver, as you get yourself ready to go and suddenly you're facing the wrong way. Something odd going on there behind the scenes. I think now we've got the replay. We don't have it. We can't get it. That's okay. No worries. He got hit. He's now a lap or so down. And we're under caution almost as soon as we were underway.
What had happened was Darren Nida was looking immediately to the inside of Cody Williams on the main start, made a little bit of contact with Cody Williams, and then Darren Nida was sent sideways into Reese Nortowski, and then they both managed to hit the inside wall. Nortowski was able to get back going, but Nida, unfortunately, stuck on his side and had to take a tow after that.
Big shame for him then. And yeah, when you have to take a tow, you're pretty much done for. You lose a lot of laps very quickly on a half-mile racetrack. These drivers are basically flat out around on the dirt. Not much banking, but the corners are so long that the arc of the corner is very wide, isn't it? So it's almost, there's very little steering input going in through the car, and saying that, there's very little going into the steering on a dirt track anyway. So very easy to take this place flat out, as opposed to some of the other racetracks which have very tight radiuses in the corners, or somewhere like Eldora that is very heavily banked. But Knoxville has its own quirk in that way then. And it's fast, and it's green once again, thanks to Sean Scott, and we've made it further to the start of the race.
Kenny Miller running up top, trying to get by Jacob Denny, who's running on the inside lane, currently first driver. And right when I said that, there goes Kenny Miller looking down to the inside lane. A little bit on the berm on the inside lane to slow up Kenny Miller just a little bit. I think we're going to have a challenge for the lead of Sean Scott. Miller slides up, Scott slides down to the inside. Oh, that was really close. Sean had to check up, but luckily everyone manages to make it through for the time being as Scott tries to attack back.
Really check up, and now he's going backwards to the middle. We're going to lose 4 spots. Blink of an eye, goes in behind Chance Crum, up in front of Crum. They are almost 3 wide. Hunter Crum up there as well, trying to challenge the leaders. Kenny Miller blocks the bottom lane, and that leaves Hunter Crum up on the high side now with a chance. Kenny was outside. The Crums doing battle for second. On the bottom of all of them is Jacob Denny, right up against that berm, almost slides up into them.
That was practically 3 wide there, off turn number 2 for position number 2 as well. Very staggered
5 wide of it?
Almost. They were staggered 5 wide there as well, so it was close. It's possible even with 5 wide. Well, let's hope they don't actually do that, but right now for the time being, Jacob Denny getting shuffled back to about 6th place for the time being, and now Kenny Miller using the inside lane for defense, something that's rarely seen, but well, we'll see how that goes as Chance Crum runs up top. Attacking to his inside slide job. Going to be, heavy contact.
That's going to take out Chance Crum. Caution's going to come out. I believe it was Chance Crum, the one that went around it is. And you could see he was going for the crossover move, and you could see it was not going to end well because there was a car coming up from the bottom, and they met in the middle in a big way.
Yeah, it's just the same real estate, unfortunately. Emerson Axum was sliding up, and Chance Crum was sliding down the crossover, and it was just one of those moments where it's just wrong place, wrong time for both drivers, and at that point, it's just really who tries to make it first. You see here on board, moves down, and then there's the 42 out of nowhere, and then stuck upside down, flipping on the catch fence for a moment. Wild ride for Chance Crum.
Very wild indeed. So lap 11, quarter of the way through the event, then 2 cautions under our belt, under the second caution at the moment, under the lights, as well as someone's flying around the field to get to the back of the field drivers, in fact. 17 cars. Oh no, they just made contact. Jack Hoyer just got into the back of Cale Coons under the caution there.
Trying to look through, and now I see a little bit of contact. Yeah, just a little bit over-eager. Oh man, just a little bit of a side swipe though. Shouldn't really be anything too major, depending on how their cars handle after those.
See if he gets away with it then. So it leaves us with 18 cars on the lead lap. Jack Hoy the last of those cars. Chance Crum and Darren Knight are 2 laps and 3 laps down after their travels early on. Darren Knight is back on the racetrack, so he's sticking it out, trying to get a good result, hoping some other drivers run into issues and have to tow back to pit lane just like he did. Lights out of the pace car, so we'll go green at this time. Bye. The drivers will be under the guidance of Kenny Miller to come back to that green flag up in the flag stand. Barney, as he's been affectionately dubbed, will wave that green flag, and we go racing once more.
Great start by Kenny Miller. Sean Scott already powering by on the outside of Hunter Crum, or the inside, I should say. And it's going to slide up, contact, a little bit of a bump from Hunter Crum given to Sean Scott, a little bit of an accordion effect as well. So now we'll see Kenny Miller running the inside, Sean Scott running up top. And right now it's going to be a battle of the lines, or a battle of the preferred lines. So here comes Emerson Axum again out of nowhere.
Big slider there, didn't quite get enough real estate to move up in front of Hunter Crum. Now he's stuck down to the low side with Jacob Denny up top. Randy Hannigan making his way forward behind him as well. He's already up 5 spots into this race. You can see how hard Axum's working to make that inside work. He's now moved up to the middle of the racetrack and trying everything he can because he's going nowhere at the moment. Now he's got an opportunity to go up top to the high line with no one who was outside. He takes it and slots in line up against that fence, right in behind Jacob Denny, Hunter Crum, and Sean Scott. Good lead for Kenny Miller, though. Got 3/4 of a second over these guys. That is increasing.
Kenny Miller doing an incredible job so far. Here comes Hunter Crum down to the inside of Sean Scott. Slide job. Does Sean Scott have a lot of momentum to get a crossover and side by side? He does. And they'll go side by side drag racing down turns, down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4. Unfortunately for Sean Scott, he did not get a lot of momentum at all. That was not the best line for his car at any point, really, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just got onto the slick, I think, and that caught him out. He got sideways, as you can see, you're under caution once again. And Stelzig with an issue further back, Gary.
Stelzig and Nordhowski, I believe, they both made contact. Now it's actually Stelzig and Jursic that had made contact in turns 3 and 4. bit of contact. Ooh, well, that wasn't the wreck, but that was a near one for sure. Close moment. Here comes Jursic, slides right up, maybe a bit too much momentum, and both end up into the outside wall. That number 4 machine, not entirely sure who that was for the moment, actually. But definitely got a little bit roughed around on the corner exit there.
It certainly did. We tick over halfway through this event then with caution number 3. And the track has already changed so much since the start. It caught out Sean Scott. I think he got on that slick down there through the entry into the corner, got him a bit more sideways than he wanted. As a result, all the momentum he had was washed off and he couldn't pull that slider to get on back by. And he will now have to restart from 4th place here. Kenny Miller has looked very comfortable so far after getting himself out to the front after starting the race from 2nd. He had himself out to almost a 2nd margin over those guys, and he wasn't right until the final lap of the green flag run there that they started battling behind. So look at that though on the front of Hunter Crum's car, bit of damage to that front wing.
And that little bit of damage may not seem like much, and usually it really isn't. Really think of aero at short tracks like this, but you'd be surprised. That front wing, of course, is there for a reason. So we'll see if that does affect Hunter Crum's momentum. But well, if he's running in 2nd and restarting 2nd, he might have a shot winning against Miller.
Pace car takes a hard left turn. Green flag flies for the 4th time today. Once again, it's Miller leading us through the corner. A lot of momentum for Scott up top, trying to work a run and get by Emerson Axon, which is exactly what he does. There's the caution comes out once more.
What's big, almost a parking lot on the back straightaway. Lincoln Smith, Dominic Carter, one of the two involved, maybe a 3rd driver as well. This is just a huge, this is really just a chain reaction wreck. Start off turn 2 and made its way all the way down the back straightaway. So yeah, this is going to be a very useful camera angle here just to see what exactly had happened. A little bit of contact up front between Stenzel and another driver, and now it's just a pile up, and it was just on all the way down the back straightaway.
A lot of cars junked up in that one. Big shunt then to bring out another caution, and that was extremely unfortunate for a lot of drivers involved. As you mentioned, chain reaction, domino effect, taking out a bunch of drivers, and Dominic Carter somehow has kept himself out on the racetrack despite that crash. His car looks pretty clean for it too. He's running around in 16th place, so we have to restart on the lead lap here. Will be just over 10 laps to go, about 14 or 13 laps to go when we come back to the green. Starting to wind down towards the end of this one. As you can see there in the background of the big screens, the iRacing promo eternally running around the big screens of every track in the iRacing service. Just one of the things added in to add to the realism. Having stuff on those big screens is pretty cool. I don't think it would actually be possible to have a replication of a TV broadcast on those screens. I think you'd need a computer from NASA to make that work, maybe?
I've always been hoping for that to be a thing, so I don't know. Soon TM, I guess.
I don't know if my computer wants that. There's mud on the suit for some of the drivers. There's definitely a lot of tear-offs being used already, because that's most definitely just as big of a nuisance as it is out there in the real world. Do I need to say it again? Green flags in the air, and it's Kenny Miller out front.
Sean Scott got a little bit loosened up there on the main start. Sorry to cut you off. Sean Scott got a little bit loosened up on the start, but he just managed to hang on to it here.
Did a good job. Jacob Denny with the top start of 3 through 1 and 2 that time. Now he's managed to open himself up a little margin there. All sorts of wild behind him. Still 3 wide for the spots in and around the top 5 positions. That was Seth Stenton trying to find a way to the inside of Axum. Wasn't finding any route through on his inside. They are very aggressive now, trying to find ways to get by drivers. On board for Stenzel, looking back. Chase Randall all the way down to the bottom, pulls a big slider. Stenzel's going to have to dive back by him. field here on the top of the track. Someone gobs a hip check and, oh no.
Stenzel. Stenzel's been roughed around a lot. A little bit of contact just up ahead as well. Hunter Crum moved down to the inside lane, and he does manage to hang on to it. If I could English correctly, that'd be a little bit better. But just look at this huge bunch of cars, and that is, believe it or not, 6th place on back, give or take a few cars. And this is just everybody scrambling for position. So it is possible to run 3 wide. That's Hunter Crum on the inside in the 28. Someone was in the middle. That was Sean Scott. And he'll make a little bit of contact with Lumatowski. No! Who goes around, saves it, doesn't collect anybody else.
Remarkable save, did not collect anyone else. Miller, meanwhile, is streaking out to an 1/8 tenth of a second of margin now over Emerson Axum in 2nd place, who's now opting to run the bottom. Got up onto the berm down the inside there. In 3rd place is Jacob Denny.
Right now, just behind Denny's Randy Hannigan, and then Chase Randall rounding out the top 5. So far, so good. Kenny Miller with a great run tonight so far. Great on the restarts, great on the main, great during the main portion of the race as well, during the green flag portions. And so far, he is just absolutely continuing to run away with this. And well, so far, he has no challenge as of yet. The battle for P8 was happening, yeah, with Sean Scott.
Yeah. Sean Scott's down at the bottom. He's trying to get to the top. He does that right in front of Zach Jursic. Jursic gets to the bottom side of him, pulls a slide job right back on him. And watch this. Scott's going to come right back at him. Oh no, big crash right in front of these guys. And somehow...
And Hannigan. Somehow Sean Scott made it through that.
I was just going to say that.
You'll see the bright yellow car probably from this shot. Just whoop, straight through.
Bit of a shock to the system. Come around the corner and done cars across the track. On board replay with Sean Scott as he comes through. 3 and 4, I believe this is.
Yep.
They both look the same.
Oh my
boy, oh
God.
boy! He wheeled that thing through there. Moses, right there. Those seats parted for him.
I don't know if that's top 10 worthy, because I think that's top 10 worthy. That is incredible. And, oh my goodness.
Sean, send it in. That's our top 10 entry for this month. Pretty decent effort. Now, I think we might end up with a finish under caution here as a result of that coming out. There's 3 to go. It'll be 2 to go and they come across the line. What do you think, Gary? We're going to get a 1-lap dash, or is this going to be it?
I don't know. With really just how things are here in dirt, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-lap dash. So, all eyes on the pace truck really for this.
Kenny Miller's praying it stays yellow because you know how it always goes.
Oh, yeah.
You dominate the race, there's a late caution, a short dash to the end, you somehow lose it. Happened to someone earlier this season. Lights go out, we're going to have a 1-lap dash.
Well, this is going to be quite the restart for Kenny Miller and quite the attempt to stick with Kenny Miller for Emerson Axum. But with Kenny, my money's on Kenny for this one.
1 lap to decide the winner from an action-packed night at Knoxville Raceway, the final race of the CSI Shocks Spring Series. Kenny Miller going to take us back to the green flag for the final time today, and it's probably his worst restart of the night. Emerson Axum goes right on with him through 1 and 2. They all migrate to the top of the racetrack, and Axum hunting him down. He's got to go for the big slide job in 3 and 4, but Miller blocks the inside. He gets in at the back of him, trying to find a way that's contact. And look out behind, they're wrecking, and through all of it, who was it across the line?
Hunter Crum.
Hunter Crum. Through them all. They wreck on the final lap, and Kenny Miller loses out. Chase Randall got through as well to finish in 2nd. Here's the replay. They're wrecking him behind as well.
Hunter Crum on the inside. Oh, man.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that.
Maybe he should
Wow.
take the Moses title then. I mean, there's two really good contenders there. Well, what did I think I might have put the knocker on him when I said it, but what did I say? Also dominate the race, and then late caution, put you in the doghouse. So this is going to take us to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, you'll go through your race results, maybe even an interview here on the CSI Shocks Spring Series. Back to the Global Sim Racing channel, wrapping up the evening for the final round of the CSI Shocks Spring Series, coming to you today from Knoxville Raceway, virtually, of course. The feature finished in crazy style. Hunter came through them all at the final couple hundred meters to the line to take the win. Chase Randall just short in second. Kenny Miller will be ruining what could have been as he came across third, with Jack Hoyer in fourth. Dominic Carter rounded out your top five. Justin Brester, Jacob Denny, sixth and seventh. Emerson Axum, who came very close to getting the win. In the end, only eighth for him. Cody Williams, Cal Coons, your top 10.
And then your second half of the field being Sean Scott finishing in 11th, and what could have been for him after starting on the pole, finishing 12th. Last car in the lead lap, Reese Nowakowski. And then everyone else, at least managing to finish a lap or more down. Zach Jersic, Seth Stenzel in 13th and 14th. Darren Nida in 15th, 16th, Lincoln Smith. Rylan Gray, unfortunately, did not finish in 17th, as well as 18th place of Randy Hannigan, 19th place of Caleb Stelzik, and 20th of Chance Crum.
No one's come to play in the interview booth today, so we'll wrap up the broadcast here, Gary. I mean, just thoughts on what the season's brought to us. It's been some fantastic racing.
Oh yeah, this season was absolutely incredible, especially with what we had seen tonight, no less. It's just absolutely incredible. We had a few appearances by Sage Karam as well, just randomly out of nowhere. So I'm looking forward to next month as well with their sprint series as well on pavements. I'm really looking ahead for that.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. I can't wait. But for today, thank you to CSI Shocks for helping to make this possible of bringing this series to you week in and week out. And thanks to all the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, and you can see all of them listed on your screen. Also, how you can get a hold of Junior Londe, who provides all of our wonderful music. Thanks to the team with me today, Gary Weaver on the comms and Sean Ambrose behind the scenes. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, you can check out our merchandise store at gsrc.store.nvy. That link is in the description below. Plus, don't forget to head on over to YouTube and hit this big red subscribe button, because you don't miss a moment here on the Red Brand. Next race for this series, there isn't going to be an next race, but we'll be doing the paved sprints from Iowa Speedway coming up next Wednesday for the brand new season, plus other upcoming races for other series listed on your screens. Check them out, mark them down in your calendar. From all of us here in the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.